Hi, I'm Andrew Spieler.
And I'm Mary Hope Rennie.
And you're watching or listening to Behind the Sign, real stories from real estate. So welcome to another episode of Behind the Sign. Mary Hope, could you introduce our special guest today?
Oh, sure. Okay, so we have Mark Mulcahy. He is one of the owners at Keller Williams Metropolitan. He also has been the team leader at Metropolitan for most of the last 17, 18 years. And just this past year, you have asked me to jump into this role, so there's a big change. But we'd love to know kind of way at the beginning how you got into real estate, why, and then how that led on to this role.
Sure. Well, unlike most people get into real estate as a secondary, a third, or fifth option, and they always wanted to. I'm a little bit different, I think. I always wanted to be in real estate. Growing up, I was a paper boy on the west side of Manchester, and I would go into the multifamilies, and I would ask the first floor owner, which was the first floor was always the owner. And you would ask them how much their building was worth, the Goupils and the Lavoies, and it was all French Canadian. So they would tell us, and then I would go upstairs and I would ask the second floor what they were paying for rent and the third floor what they were paying for rent. And during school, when you're supposed to be listening to history and science and math and English, I would write on my paper bag, on the paper bag that covered the book.
Oh, yes.
I would write down how much the multifamily cost, how much a 20% deposit down, and I would build a little empire. Now, the truth is I've never bought a multifamily, but I always wanted to be in real estate and showing houses. So I went to get into real estate right out of school, and I did not put the effort into the test, and I failed the test. I went out and sold copier software and telecom, and when the dot-com bubble burst back in the early 2000s, I called my wife and said, I want to get into real estate. I've always wanted to. And then this was my sales pitch. There's no salary. There's no insurance. You're a teacher making X amount of dollars, and we want to have a bunch of kids. But she said something that changed the direction. And she said, we'll figure it out. And so having a supportive person in your life is super important when you move into a role, any type of role like this.
That's so interesting because we actually had a former guest, Tyler Costa, who quit his job. And he said the reason he could is he had the support of his wife.
Yeah.
And she trusted that he could do it.
Yeah. It real similar, except he quit his job and they quit my job for me when the market crashed. So
it's you took the opportunity.
The opportunity, and I had the support. So I got into real estate, and I loved it. I worked an awful lot. I never wanted to let anyone down. I didn't want anyone to lose out on an opportunity. And because I loved what I did, I didn't want to lose that. And I was always fearful of losing. So I stayed on top of everything.
Can you give us some numbers? Because I don't think people know how good you were with selling.
My first year, I sold 29 homes.
There you go.
Wow.
And so,
what year was that?
2002.
2002. Wow.
So 2002, I wasn't around much at the house.
Yeah.
And so I poured into that.
But you had to supplement a full salary.
Yep.
And you did it.
Yep. And I loved what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that was the main thing.
So that was your first year, 29 units.
Yep. And then
you were at another brokerage. Keller Williams did not exist.
Another brokerage. I was there for 2 years. I think the second year I went up to 43 transactions, and still wasn't around the house much, which bothered me. That wasn't, my goal was to start a family in life, not have a job that consumed everything.
And how old were your kids at that time?
Well, at that time, I'm going to say we had 2, and then we had just had a third.
You had a newborn,
when
right?
I moved to Keller Williams, Brandon had just been born, and then we found out that Kay was pregnant right away for number 4 as soon as we came to Keller Williams. I keep saying
sign-on bonus.
Yeah, we did come, but it was me doing that, and so we had a real small family.
4 under
young
4.
kids. Yeah,
right.
They were 3, 2, 1, and a day old when we had the 4. So
wow.
It was stressful, but when KW opened up, I had no idea who Keller Williams was. And quite honestly, when I first met with Bill Weidecker, who's William Weidecker, I thought Keller Williams. And I just had to figure out who this Keller dude was.
Enter Alan.
And I'm like, I don't get the Alan Rice and Gary Keller thing, but I figured out that was a franchise out of Texas, and we had talked, and a lot of it made sense to me. A lot of it made sense. I could make more money. There was a profit sharing plan, and so those things really made sense to me.
Yeah.
Then when I got here, I realized so many other things that were at my fingertips.
So how long were you an agent?
5 years. People are really surprised to hear that.
And yeah.
They say, I didn't realize you were only doing it for 5 years.
Yeah.
That was it. And then I moved into, like you had said, a leadership role.
Yep. So let's go there.
Yeah.
What, because I know more of your story, so I'm going to ask you it, kind of prompting questions. What prompted you to give up a very successful business for a salary that was not that much?
Yeah, I could go back and tell you what I thought it was.
Yeah.
The main reason was that our company wasn't that profitable at the time. And 2 people in 1 week had said, you should do the team leader role, but you'd never do it because of the pay cut. And when they said that got under my skin.
You're competitive.
And I thought, am I not doing something that I should be doing am I not doing it just because of money?
Right.
And so I put a lot of thought into that. I talked with Kay, and that's when I jumped into it. It was really because we needed leadership in the company. We needed someone in that role. Other people thought it would be a good fit for me. And it made sense. At the time I owned 10% of the company. So I thought, well, we're making $100,000, which is great if I own 100% of the company. But at 10% at the time, that wasn't going to pay the bills. I also knew that if I could grow the company to $1 million, that
there you go.
I'd make
You saw potential.
$100,000. And it was all about the potential. And then it was really about being in an environment. When I got into real estate, I came from the corporate world where it was in that .com bubble when it had burst, and our CEO, our company filed for bankruptcy. Our CEO went to prison, passed away, and was in prison, eligible for parole in 2029. And it was a $13 billion accounting scandal. And I hated the corporate culture that I was in. So one of the main things that I wanted to do was to be a great example for other people and how you can have fun at work and be around people that you care about and not worry about people going through your desk.
Yeah.
I wanted to create a family environment here. And that was the main thing.
Anti-corporate.
Yes. I wanted people to realize that we could be better friends, even though we were all self-employed. And so people looked at our industry as if we were competitors, where I didn't look at that. I looked at it as most of the people in this world would love to have a home. And so there's plenty of that to go around for all of us, whether it's an apartment, a house, a condo, a multifamily, investing, all of that stuff. And so I wanted to be in a culture where people loved coming to work. And I just felt there's 24 hours in a day. You should work for 8, you should play for 8, and you should sleep for 8. And if work isn't a good culture or environment, then it changes the direction of your playtime. It changes the direction of your sleep patterns, because you don't feel good about where you've been, and you don't feel good about where you have to go in the morning.
No.
So it was all about creating. It wasn't a numbers thing, as much as it was creating something that I felt would be a good vision for the future of the company.
You must have believed in what Bill and Alan had created here.
100%.
Right? Because then it doesn't make sense if you didn't believe there was a potential for being able to create a culture here.
Right.
If you didn't have the support of the ownership.
Right.
Well, and was there a team lead at the time that you had joined? Yeah, like prior to you, was there a team? Like, was it something that KW as a franchise had sort of, created a role, or was it something you guys were looking to generate and fill?
So we had someone in the role, but what happened was when the company was brand new, I came over in the first month or two. I came over, I think it was on St. Patrick's Day in 2005.
So yeah, right. Yeah.
And so
They just closed their first deal.
yeah, so there was a lot of a lot of talk about having a good culture. But Alan and Bill, when we were brand new, there was no one coming to our office. And we were at the stage of where people made fun of us because we didn't really exist. And they said that your company won't be around very long because your compensation package is so great for the agents, and then you take half of your profit and you give it back to the agents in profit share. They said, we love what you think, what you're showing us, but there's no way your company will sustain this long term.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things where I thought, we've got to get to a certain agent count. And what happened in the very beginning, Alan and Bill didn't think someone was a good fit. And I witnessed them letting someone know that they didn't think it was a good fit. And I thought that they were ridiculous. And I said that to them. I said, guys, we're not making money yet. And you're turning people away.
Can't afford to do that.
And Alan and Bill said, Mark, we have to follow the model and stay in culture. And it's about the people, right? Because people are what makes companies what they are. It's not company. Keller Williams isn't going to make you a wonderful person.
Right.
We're just going to bring things out and surround you with other people and things like that. So I learned that from them. Then we had a team leader that came in and they brought in a fair amount of people.
Yeah.
But the culture wasn't there because we're trying to, they're trying to get paid. They're trying to grow the company. They're trying to do their job. They're trying to make their bosses happy. Yeah. But really the right way to do it would have been to be more selective in the beginning. So I learned in the very beginning from Alan and Bill that everybody wasn't going to be a good fit, and I had to be okay with that.
Yeah. So then did they just ask you to consider this, or?
Yes, Alan had talked to me. Alan was the operating partner. He had talked to me, and I scoffed at it in front of him.
Oh, I did the same thing to you.
How that works.
I laughed at you too.
Yes.
Good. How good.
Well, first off, I didn't laugh at you like you just said you laughed at me. I just thought, I don't know about that. I'm very happy.
Externally, and you said it internally.
Yes, I said it internally.
It's like,
I had also just read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, and I had adopted a couple of things in my business that made my business grow.
Yeah.
And I had more time with my family and loved ones. And so one of the things that was really appealing to me was, wow, if I could teach other people to do what I did, then I could essentially better those people's lives. If we had 40 people, if I could help those 40 people grow, then that would be a better cause for me. And I would have more of an impact on people and a result in their lives. And that's
so it's a cultural downline as opposed to
it was
monetary one.
Right. So that was the main thing where I wanted to make sure people were in a great environment. I had some examples of it.
Yeah.
And does that make sense?
Yeah. Although you didn't get in for the money, and I can say this again, you made a very successful business. You, Bill, and Alan created a company that now has been one of the most successful, most profitable market centers in the country.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Really? Like, I'm reaping the benefits. But for example, I mean, we've been in the top 15 of the whole North America, right? For the last 15 years.
Yeah.
From nothing.
How did we get there?
How did we you had to have done something. And I mean, of course, I believe most of it is culture, but that's a business that you created.
Yeah.
So any insight on
how did that happen? Yeah. Number one, it was I wanted to create something where people wanted to be. I wanted to create something where people were happy and they wanted to come into the office. So then we had to create a number of things. We had to hire the right people in regards to realtors and staff. Okay. In the beginning, we were really slim on staff because we had to be. And then the second thing was following through. KW has all the educational programs, and you just have to utilize those programs.
The systems.
So
systems work.
We utilized. So we concentrated on who we brought in. We concentrated on the systems that we had in place. And that's just how it grew. It just metastasized. And you didn't realize that that's happening when it's happening because you're in the throes of it. And you could say, we were profitable, one of the most profitable companies in the world or in North America for KW years ago. I didn't even think that way. I knew that it had to be about people. It had to be about people. It had to be about them. And when you have ownership in a company, there are things that come into play where you inherently think of yourself first. Mm-hmm. And I thought every time that I thought of myself, it didn't make sense. Mm-hmm. I just had to pour into other people. And if we had good people, they would pour into others, which ultimately that's what happened. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily what I was doing. It was really what the other people were doing that we had brought on and set the...
Growing the agents to have a successful business too, like giving them the systems.
Yes, and that's truly what I believe today. Yeah. I believe that if you come here and your goal is to do X amount, I am 100% confident that we have every system in place that you can be in a great environment and hit those goals. Yeah. I'm so confident. Otherwise, I would be here.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because the official title that you carried was team leader. Yeah. But the more I've been in the business, I in this role, I feel like it's more of a growth leader.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Because not only do you bring agents in and train them, anybody can train you how to fill out a P&S. Right. Training someone how to grow as a business owner and as a person is a whole different, it's a different skill set. And I think so many people are not growth minded.
That's right.
And being around an environment that's growth minded allows everybody to grow.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, and it's, what you did was you fostered a community of others who are like-minded in the sense that they understand the value of being collaborative with one another, as opposed to, I think there are a lot of other brokerages out there who the culture is quite the opposite. It's you stay to your lane and you don't share information because you might lose the deal, right? And it's very isolating, right?
Yeah.
Fend for yourself.
It's interesting because to that point, we've had so many agents over the years that have come here from other companies. And I'll just, as an example, when I worked at another brokerage, it was you protected your information. You didn't share information. You didn't say, "Hey, I have something coming on," or
"This is my secret formula. You can't know," right? Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting because so many of those people that I worked with today work with us or have worked at Keller Williams before they retired and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And when they came here, they realized right away, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily one specific thing. It was always the people, because I knew it was the people that gave the impression that you didn't have to protect your stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's a universal theme, and it sort of transcends not just age, race, and gender, but I think, literally just today, I was out at lunch and I bumped into a brand new agent who just joined here from another brokerage. And you could tell he was so excited about the idea of now being at a place where there were others who have been doing this for a very long time, who were not only really good at their job, but really open and willing to share how to be successful in this with him, he's only been doing this for, 2 to 4 years, I think. And he saw the value in the mentor-mentee sort of approach to this industry, which I just don't think you can find in.
Well, and it's interesting because you could not be everything for everyone. Yeah. So if you don't create a culture, 100%. Right? We have around 400 agents now. I can't be the consultant for every agent here. You could not be, as you are growing this company, yet if you build a culture that works together, then there is that collaboration.
That's right. Once people buy in, you can see sometimes when they get it, they come here and they don't think it at first.
They don't believe it.
They don't believe it.
Well, from the outside, I remember when I was looking at brokers, who'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna go drink the KW Kool-Aid," and I'm like, "What? Like, what are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And it's just because from the outside looking in,
it looks too good to be true.
It looks too good to be true. It's like there's got to be something going on there. And it's like, well, there is, but it's a good thing that's going on. You just got to.
I've thought, the Kool-Aid tastes pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's not like we see someone coming out. Andrew's newer with the company, and so we have a code red. Andrew's coming into the building. Everybody take their position and spot.
Smile.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're having a good time.
Yeah. It's not Pleasantville,
Yeah, no, it really is that. It's genuine. And you go back to it, it's always the people. It's
Yeah.
people. It's always the people. It's who they are.
Well, and also just to make a distinction for anybody who's listening or watching who doesn't quite understand the idea of teams and team leads. This is something we've touched on in other episodes a little bit, but like something that's also unique to the brokerage here is that there are a lot of teams, right? And so teams obviously are a little cluster of agents that get together and sort of form their own little business together within the business of the brokerage relationship. And that also seems like something that's not readily available or as uniquely apparent, I guess, at other brokerages. And so being the team leader, when somebody hears that, from the outside, they're like, wait, do you run a team? And, team leader is like parent leader of the whole brokerage, but then all these other subset teams.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about, I guess, the thinking behind the strategy of allowing teams to form here and what that did too?
Yeah. The biggest thing was we realized that people they had their own company. They were the company to some extent. They had their own business. Yes. And so one of the things that bothered me when I first got into real estate, I always asked top agents, how'd you get your business? How'd you do this? What did you do special? What did you do differently? And I heard a few times someone say, well, I bought so-and-so's business when they retired. And I said, oh, wow, how much did you pay for that? And they said, $10,000, $15,000. And I remember saying to them, so you bought something for $15,000 that someone was making $150,000 every year? You got yourself a deal. Because I'd like to find 3 people that I can give a total of $45,000 to that can make $450 if we have the right rate. Mm-hmm. So what it was we were building an asset here. But if we're building an asset, then we have to teach people how they can build an asset, because someday when you retire at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, whatever the age is, we want you to be able to have something that's going to continue.
Yep.
Right. And so we don't want to build something so that it expires when we do.
Right.
We want to build something so that it goes on and someone can build it and make it better than what we did. Yeah. So that was really the cusp of it. Was we want you to build, you're an asset, and we want you to be able to build an asset around you so that's sellable. Mm-hmm. It's something that it's of value. So when you get out of the business, you say, I'm not selling real estate anymore. You missed a huge opportunity.
Yeah, it is true. I never really thought of it. That is a bit of an Achilles heel, in real estate, is that once you're done, and there is no pension, there is no, unless you've created for yourself. Yeah.
And our matching program on our 401k program is not good. We match 100% of zero.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're self-employed.
Yeah.
Right.
And so this was a way for people to understand, we have profit share, right? And so that was one thing. So you have your real estate, but what we wanted to do is we wanted to create other avenues for you to make residual income. Yeah. And part of that right out of the gate was the profit share system.
Yeah.
And so the goal right when we started was we want to get that to $1 million a year, every single year, because we know that certain agents will hit their financial cap with us, and they will also have the ability to make back their financial cap in profit share, meaning there really is no value, financial value, when you look at it. Now, that's not the truth. There's a huge value to us.
Right.
Of course. Yeah.
Right.
But, when you look at the numbers and how they do it, there's a great system. And then if you build that, it's sellable. You can stay in it. You could work 25 hours a week, then you can go to 10 hours a week, but you're still, right?
Now, we're at 20 years. And we have hopefully a lot more years. Yeah. Hopefully you and I have a lot more years in it, right?
Right.
What do you see the next 5 years in Metropolitan particularly? Where do you see that going? Not necessarily the market. We could talk about that all day long, but where do you see Metropolitan going in the next 5 years?
Well, I certainly see it growing in a sense where agents as individuals continue to grow their businesses and they become bigger. 20 years ago, and I don't want to begrudge anyone that does $10 million, but 20 years ago, $12 million, you were the top of it.
Yeah.
And I thought, great. People do unbelievable numbers now compared to what we used to do. And we need to stay focused on that, because we talk about a rising tide lifts all ships. And so that we know if there's a certain percentage of people that their business is growing, their real estate business is growing, their company is growing in some sense, then we know that there's other opportunities that come in for other agents where there's a really good fit. A lot of this is confidence, is helping people with their confidence. And sometimes that right fit over here can be we've seen it before.
Yeah.
We've seen it where agents, they might have a tough year and a half where they do a couple of transactions. And then we find some uniqueness where you can help this person and you can, the pros and cons. And now next thing you know, they're making, a large amount of money and their life has changed.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's
what
for me, is to watch someone's life change and what they can do for their family.
Now, where do you, I love this interview because Mark will never talk about himself. Right?
I'm talking about
I keep on trying to do it and it never goes there. Yet you stepped out of this role for a reason. Why? And where do you see yourself in the company?
Yeah. So
that's a big question. But.
Yeah, there's two reasons. The main reason is that you were around and you had stepped into a leadership role, not a salary role, but as an agent. You had joined our board, our associate leadership council. You were involved, and I noticed things on leadership that intrigued me, and I thought, boy, that is an asset that we need. And so that was the main thing for it. I also felt that I wasn't necessarily, in my first 10 years, I thought that there was a lot of things that I brought to the table, a lot of new ideas, and I felt that those had slowed down. And so when we were talking, and I was talking, about the studio and other things were happening, I realized that there were other people around that could make me look even better than what I do, what I do look. And so that's really it, was I saw other people. And so moving forward, it's more finding opportunities. We have other companies that we work with, and the goal is to help grow those companies and grow their opportunities. And it just gives more of us.
Well, I think this was almost one of the studio was one of those first babies of this growth, right?
This studio was one of the things. And again, it goes back to, we found the right person.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
We found the right person. And that's what it has to do. It's all about getting in touch with people that, that fill your cup and have pros where you have cons. But at the end of the day, your business isn't the most important thing to you. It's your personal life. It's your family and those things. And so if back in the old day where people say, oh, look at Andrew, he's first in and last out. You're not going to get compliments from us. You're first in, last out, because you're ignoring other people that are in your life, and your job is to focus on those.
Right.
And our job here is to get you into the right systems so that you can do the job in the time period that you should be devoting to it, and then you can go focus on
live a big life.
Which I think that's an extremely valuable thing at this very point in time culturally, because there are plenty of people, agents and otherwise, who they believe firmly in the opposite of that. They pride themselves on killing themselves for their work and being available 24/7, and it's a culture that ultimately leads to burnout and resentment of whatever the job is that you're trying to do, and therefore less quality to those you're trying to provide it to. And like that is, I think, one of the most important value systems here is the fact that you respect, what's the saying? It's God, family, business, right?
In that order.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's like, if that is something that you either believe in, you're a good fit, or if it's something that like you have yet to experience that you can believe in and have it be a good fit, then this is like an incredible place to learn that.
Well, I feel that everyone in their gut knows that you need to have your priorities straight. If you said, is money or your family more important? I don't know if you'd hear him, it's my money.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yet their lives look like that.
Right. Their actions defy their
actions say something completely different than what they want.
Right. Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we just don't know how to put those priorities in order. And I think something that is very unique, the systems that we have here and the focus on leverage. When you get to a certain point, you shouldn't be just working harder. You shouldn't be adding an extra 5 hours to your day to make more money.
Yeah.
Which you can physically do. You said that at the beginning. You can just work and you can make more money.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing about real estate. You can make a lot of money and have no life, though.
Yeah.
That at a certain, like, we literally have systems like it's around this amount of transactions you should be getting leverage at this amount,
Right.
and it works.
Yes.
Um,
And you have to, it does work. You have to follow it. If you
Yes.
watch, if you pay attention to what we're saying and think,
Yeah.
there's a pattern with certain people.
Yes.
And you can look at it and say, well, that's someone that followed the system, and look at them.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not you want to do the system. And a lot of that is
Absolutely.
people not wanting to fail forward, or
Absolutely.
they're nervous about being embarrassed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that's the confidence point that, you get
Yeah.
back to, right?
or the
It's sort of like
fear,
second- yeah.
fear of also
Mhm.
running your own business, because
Yeah.
leverage means you have your business.
Yeah.
When you told me to hire a full-time admin, I said, I can't do that. I'm not a business.
Right.
Like that's a huge responsibility. And then it doubled my business. That's a system.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yet I couldn't have done that if I didn't trust what you said.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the people around you that you trust
Yeah.
and you follow what they say to do, it can work. Yeah.
Go fast, go alone, go
Yeah.
far, go together.
Yeah.
And that's, I think you get the together here.
Yeah.
Which you don't get elsewhere.
Yeah.
That's really it.
And I also get it because that's what I've lived.
Yeah.
There's no way that this company grew to 400 people because of me, Alan, and Bill.
Yeah.
It does not happen. It's a collective effort, and it's been over time where, it's not something where we started out at 400. You can see us, gradually going up.
And, a lot of this is going on a tangent, and I know we've been going on, but a lot of people have this argument with 400 agents that, well, I'm just going to be a number. I actually, because I was at I was 15 years ago, so I was not too far from, I was in the small Bedford Farms, sat there
You were
right
in
with,
the beginning.
I was-
Okay, you can say it.
I was right there sitting next to
Grandma can say
Debbie.
that.
Yeah. Debbie, Karen, and Carmen sitting right there at the front desk when I was answering the phones when I took uptime. I feel that we actually have more one-on-one time with people that matter for us in this company because we have so many agents that live this and we have opportunity. If it's all dependent, really at the beginning, it was Bill and Alan.
Yeah.
Then it was Bill, Alan, and you. So even if you had 45 agents, that's a lot of agents
Yep.
to be responsible for.
Yep.
So what's the beauty of this, and the ALC is a part of that, training other leaders, everyone benefits. The leaders and the educators, because they learn, and then they learn from others. Anyway, it's just a very, I haven't
You look at
discussed that.
the
Yeah.
ALC and you say, hey, you know what? I don't know too many organizations where the top agents in production say, hey, I want you to call me if you have a problem.
Let me take on more
Right?
responsibility.
There's a hotline
Absolutely.
set up. That wasn't
Every
something,
single day.
that wasn't something that I came up with, or I said, hey, I really want you guys to do this. No, they came up with it. And I don't know too many companies where you take anybody that's a top performer, but let alone a top performer that is self-employed with no salary and no insurance.
And they're willing to give up
and-
their time
and
to
they're
give to
willing.
others.
But that's because they're good people.
Yes.
And if you really look at it if you try to peel the onion back and go through it, you can look at it selfishly and say, well, they're learning from you.
Yeah.
They're giving you
Absolutely.
questions and asking
And
you
every
things
single
that-
one of them would say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's truly through other people
Right.
that makes it. And
Absolutely.
you just have to believe it. And if you don't, then you're going to be a little bit further behind.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So to wrap things up, first of all, will you come back?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Oh, goodness.
To be
Good.
continued.
Yes, I was going to say part two.
No, that would
Yeah.
be.
I know, it'd be a bummer.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think good for the podcast.
I'm good.
Yeah.
That's the last podcast I'll ever do.
So people have been getting pretty good at this because
Yeah.
usually our sign-off question is if you could provide one bit of advice for either a new agent or an agent who's been around for a long time who's trying to sort of, start again or something, what would that bit of advice be? And some answers have been like
Show up.
2 words. Yeah, right. So like if there was something that like, was sort of the most universal important advice you could give to someone walking in the door here, what do you think that would be?
It would be to surround myself with people that are in the game and have reputations of being, inclusive and including others and growing something, because there's so many opportunities with other people. And whether it works out or not as an opportunity, it's being around other people. The confidence is the number one thing that I can look at. And so your goal is to gain confidence as quick as possible. And out of all the accolades we've gotten over the years, I would say that the number one thing by far is I've been able to see people get confidence in their lives that they never had before in their lives. And I remember an agent saying once, not only do I have confidence for the first time in my life, but my children have seen the confidence that their parent has, and now my children have more confidence. That is a winning formula that beats any type of income that you make when you can affect your family's life like that. So being involved, but not just showing up, ask questions.
Yeah.
By the way, people don't understand. A lot of people want to help people because it helps fulfill their soul. It's not, I'm not doing you a favor because
It fills me up.
because I'm supposed to do a favor a day. No, it fulfills certain people to help other people. So
Absolutely.
that's what we have to keep in mind. Most people think that way.
Yeah.
All right.
That's wonderful. That's
Awesome.
wonderful. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll be back.
Yes.
Yes,
Happy
sounds-
20th anniversary.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It's well worth it.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Behind the Sign, Real Stories from Real Estate.
We hope you enjoyed today's conversation and gained a little insight into the world behind those for sale signs.
Today's episode was brought to you by Keller Williams Realty Metropolitan, proudly serving New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, and Massachusetts. A special thank you to our agents, leadership, and partners at KW Metro for their continued support.
And thanks to you, our amazing listeners and viewers. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Leave us a review or comment. We love hearing your feedback, and it helps more people discover the show.
And if you have a real estate story you'd like to share or a question you want answered on a future episode, reach out to us at metro.kw.com or find us on Instagram, handle @KWMetroNH.
Until next time, we'll see you
Behind the Sign.